So how do you know if you're a writer? If you found yourself asking this question or a similar question, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to discuss this age-old question, give you some insight as to why you're asking this question, and help you reframe your mindsets. Unfortunately, this isn't a question I can answer for you. Only you can answer this question. I know this isn't what you were really looking for, and it's probably not the most helpful answer, but it's good news. This means that you get to decide whether you are a writer or not. When you first start out doing something new, it's perfectly normal to seek some form of validation, which is essentially what you're doing when you ask questions like, can I do this? Am I a writer? Will I be successful? It's almost like we have this need to figure out whether we're going to be a success before we start out. It's like we're looking for a crystal ball almost. When you do ask questions like, how do I know if I'm a writer? What most people are looking for is they want to know whether they're a good writer or if they're meant to be a writer. Essentially, this question boils down to the myth of talent. Many people who dream of writing believe they need a certain level of talent to start. As a result, many people disqualify themselves before they start writing. It really is all about the journey you take to becoming a writer. To be a good writer, or to be a better writer, you need to write and then look over your work for ways to improve. A good writer isn't born with talent. A good writer is made through the writing and editing process. I've often heard a lot of writers and authors say that their editors have actually helped them hone the craft of writing. Trust me, there's nothing more eye-opening than revising your own work, because these are those moments where you look over your work and say, oh, I should have done this when I created my outline. This is also another reason why when you look at an interview, watch an interview of your favorite author and someone mentions their first book, they get a bit embarrassed and it looks like they die a little bit on the inside. They're like, oh, I can't believe that's still available for publication. And it's because many years have passed now and they've grown so much as a writer, and they look back, they're looking at their first book through the lens of what they know now about writing, and usually is a huge difference, but you need to start. This is good news for you, because what you need to become a writer is time to write and look back and edit your work. This is the only secret. It is to start writing. So if you dream of writing, flip open your computer, notebook, and just start writing. Don't disqualify yourself because you think, I'm not talented enough, I'm not as good as X, because you're most likely comparing yourself to someone who's literally been writing for many, many years. One of the things people do when they're in the am I a writer phase of their journey is that they look for validation from outside. We look for almost like we're waiting for that green light, we're waiting for someone to tell us, yeah, you should totally be a writer. And what we do is we often show people that those first few pieces of work, and we do this hoping that someone's going to turn around and say to us, oh yeah, you should definitely publish this, you should definitely be a writer. The truth is, writing is subjective. This means that one person will love your work and they'll think it's the best thing that they've ever read, and then the next person next to them will think it's the biggest load of garbage that they wouldn't wrap their fish in. This is the nature of art. Art is subjective. And just for an example, I often go to art galleries with Roland, and he's really into modern art. I don't really have an appreciation for modern art. He'll look at something and think, wow, this is so interesting, and he'll get something from the piece of art. And maybe this is a measure of intelligence, but I'll look at something that he loves and I'll be like, to me it just looks like paint on canvas. It sounds really harsh, but this is what writing is art, and this is what it's like. One person will read your work and Like I said before, they'll think it's great, someone else thinks it's crap. And as a writer, knowing this will actually help you and it will save you a bit of heartache in the long run. So if you feel the need to show people your earlier pieces of work, don't give a piece to someone hoping they're going to tell you to be a writer. Instead, give the piece to someone and listen to the feedback they give you to help you make the story better, because this is what's going to help you become a better writer. So resist the urge to look for validation from the outside, because if you're looking for external validation, you really want to do this and you just need to commit to being a writer. If you're still watching this video, then on some level you have an aspiration to be a writer. In order to be a writer, you need to commit to the journey of writing and get started. To help you decide whether writing is right for you, ask yourself the following 2 questions. Question 1. Am I committed to embarking on one of the longest apprenticeships of my life? This is what being a writer is all about. You never truly reach a place where you've mastered writing. As a writer, you're constantly learning and growing. So as you consider whether you want to be a writer, consider the fact that you'll never reach a place where you're a guru or you've really mastered it. Are you determined to put in the work that's required? When I first decided to become a writer, I committed to writing, I think it was a certain number of projects with the sole purpose of learning the craft of writing. Eventually I did come across an idea that I felt was worthy of publication, but it did take some time. If I'm going to be completely honest, it took about 4 years. I'm not saying that you need to write projects for 4 years and before you decide to publish, but what I am saying is, are you committed to learning the craft of writing in this way? Writing isn't a quick and easy path, but it does have its rewards. If you've answered yes to both of those questions, then writing is something you're seriously considering. So my best advice for you is to start writing your first project. If you're not sure where to get started in regards to writing a novel, I'll include a link to my fiction writing playlist right here. So are you a writer? Have you committed to writing your first project? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you love this video, then give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, then click the red subscribe button to be notified about more videos just like this one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.